demographics. We normally take our market, we divide it into different units. We look at it from a demographic perspective, and there's 7 different ways to look at it. But each one of them, you need to take the value that we talked about previously and apply it to the demographic of your community that you're trying to reach in the process. It's customer segmentation. Here is this segment over here. It's just very different from this segment over here. If you're making baby clothes, you don't need to be marketing it into a group of senior citizens. They may not be interested. Or is that true? Maybe the senior citizens are interested in a higher end baby clothes because in fact they want to buy it for their grandbabies. Whoa, that changes the different dynamic. Instead of being a family in their 20s or 30s struggling to make ends meet with a couple of children, all of a sudden now you're a senior citizen with lots of income. So maybe you want to buy some fabulous outfits for your grandchildren. Pay attention to who your demographic is and what their needs and desires are to make certain that your product and service fits that demographic. Choose a product for its features. A feature for one group may be different from one. Those people that are in the market for a high performance, big powered car in the process be totally different than those that want to ride in total comfort. You may have the money to buy a very expensive sports car, but you want to be sitting with the bottom of your seat 4 inches off the pavement with a super tight suspension, super hard steering that sits there and can take any kind of corner, or would you rather be sitting high and mighty into a car that has a nice cushy ride as you drive down the street? 2 different markets, maybe the same age group when it comes down to it. Your optimal distribution strategy, how you go about distributing your product. Do you want instant delivery? Do you want to sit down and have them be able to wait 2 or 3 weeks while they customize your product for you as you go through to make certain it's the perfect product? The appropriate pricing. Walmart pricing is very different than other kinds of pricing. When we look on food, maybe you go to Walmart to buy your food, but maybe you like to have organic and you have the money to go to Whole Foods in the process. Different kinds of pricing, same end product, it's all food, very different food, very different price as well. We look on the market environment through the eyes of actually how the customer looks at it from their perspective as well. Also, population shifts. You have giant shifts of population leaving from this region of the country over to here. You also have their buying patterns and their values moving with them, and that may change the market they were in. One time I was living in an area and primarily it was very Mexican-American driven. And all of a sudden we have this giant housing wave. I bought a house in the country, and 2 years later, I find I'm 3 miles inside the limits of a huge housing development, a boom going on, and a different demographic moved up, and they couldn't handle the stores. The stores changed, and a lot of stores went belly up because there's a change in the different culture between the values within them. So pay attention to what you're doing in the process and how the world's changing around you. The competition, the speed, the prices. If you move into a high income area, you're going to be spending more money on almost everything. If you move to the island Hawaii, your grocery prices will skyrocket because all the food is pretty much brought in by boat in the process and costs more money to transport. If you have a depression going on in part of the world, then the products may be changed as you come through. If you have trade tariffs going on between 2 countries, all of a sudden your product may cost you 20% more, and you may be more inclined to start looking for different sources for the same type of product locally in the process. Technology, when it jumps, it really changes quite a bit. And look at the whole marketing environment, and here's a listing of different things that have a direct impact on your customer as you go through. On customer decisions, you're going to look at the 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. That's standard operating procedure for anybody in business. You want to always look at those kind of influences, but also look at the psychological thing, what their perception, their attitude, and their motivation for shopping for that particular item at that moment, at that time as well. Holiday buying is totally different than summer buying. Although summer buying can be a holiday all by itself. So you have a different product mix, and you want to emphasize different things in the winter and the summer and the spring and the fall and the year. Things are changing. Make certain your product and service changes with them to meet the demands as you go through. situational influences, the type of purchase. If it's you may have a fast food store, somebody goes rolling in and they buy gas. Oh, and by the way, here's this available. You go and you buy things. Actually, that model is very successful when it comes down to it. Different kinds of social class. Sometimes family is different. Sometimes you have dual income, no kids. Market-wise, they call them dinks. Dual income, no kids. They have lots of spendable income to spend. Other times you have a family, all of a sudden a couple with 5 kids is totally different than the dink as you come down to it when you start looking at the different groups that you have. So think about who your customer segment is. We normally use 5 different types of segmentation. Geographic. The product you're going to sell in California is very different if you're selling it in San Diego, California versus Fargo, North Dakota when it comes down to it, which is also very different from Atlanta, Georgia, which is also very different than a country over a country store in Louisiana when it comes down to it. The products are very different because your market is different, because everything is different about the way the values, the culture, the weather is very different about the whole aspect of it. Demographic, we separate it by age, we separate by income, we also separate even by education. If you have pretty much your community is college educated, even attorneys, lawyers, people with advanced degrees is very different from a community that has an average of a high school education when you start looking at that. You have different kinds of very demographic variables when it comes down to it. And a community that's primarily 20 and 30-year-olds is very different in housing and purchasing than a community of senior citizens when it comes down to it as well. We look into psychographic segmentation. You divide a group by its values, attitudes, and interests. The benefit, what product benefit is you're bringing to the customer that you're out there as well, because people want different kinds of benefits, sometimes with the same type of product. And then also, when we talk about volume use, a Costco store selling massive amounts of volume at low discount, it's high-end product, but their profit margin is slim because most of their profit comes from selling the memberships versus the aspect of a Walmart. They're saying similar products, but different quality of products, and also the volume can be significantly different. So you look at these segments, when you have small segments, we call them niche markets. As you go through, you look at a teeny tiny thing, I'm gonna focus in on that by the time you're all done. And you'll see lots of them, and there can be a lot of money made on those. You also have a lot of one-on-one marketing where you develop a mix of goods and services as you go through. One example, let me bring this up to you. There's one of my favorite restaurants of all time was called New York Deli. New York Deli had a crazy owner named Mike. Mike was crazy. He'd sit out there with his customers, sit at their tables. He had some of the baddest jokes you could possibly imagine. They weren't dirty or anything else. They were dad jokes. Oh my gosh, I have bad dad jokes. His were much worse than mine, I promise you. And he thought he was funny when he have a new customer come in and they'd say, oh, would you like to sit down and try your sandwich? Here, try this also, this brand new mustard. And he'd point the mustard label at the customer and he'd squeeze the bottle, and out would, the customer's eyes would get big and out would stream a big yellow thing of crepe paper. He thought it was funny. The customers didn't always think it was funny, but they would come back because Mike was kind of crazy. Mike sat there, he sold his business to his top performer, the employee that worked in the back room. She was a great cook, a great baker, because New York Deli had bread flown in, the dough was flown in daily from New York. It tasted fabulous as you go through. So she bought the company, except for the fact she didn't have his flair for wanting to get along with the customers. She was back in the room baking all the time. She liked doing the books. She didn't want to mingle with the customers. In a matter of about 4 years, she took over the store. The store sat down and it went belly up in the process. As you could see, gradually, the ice cream freezer left. All of a sudden, her 5 showcases, they had 4 of them, with one of them with cardboard over the top of it, and the shelves are only half full. Then the bottom 2 shelves were empty. She stopped, needed repair, needed paint. She didn't have enough money to continue because she didn't try to court her customers and talk and mingle with them like Mike had done. The story had been built upon customer service and knowing your customers. You have to know your customers, know what value your business brings to your customers. Focus on the demographics, know your customers. Who is your market? Who is your customer? And by the way, Do you know your customer by name? Take care.